Hi, Stampers. It's Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. Welcome. Today is Thursday, which means we're doing Stamping Made Simple, where I try to do cards that don't involve die cutting and are a little bit on the easier side and can be done with more limited supplies. We're actually doing two things today because the card I have picked out is super simple, like super simple. But you're going to love it. It's a little bit of a fun fold, yet it still just involves punches and some DSP. And then I have this cute little packet that we're going to make that holds these Crystal Lights, or it could be coffee, or it could be Kool-Aid. I know there's a bunch of little things that come in these small little packets. Audio is fading in and out. Darn, because I am on the other speaker or other microphone that I was using before, and I didn't change a thing. If I switch to this microphone, is it any better? I don't know what to do about this fading. I wish I could get it fixed. Every time I think I have it fixed, it's not quite fixed. I'm just waiting to see if the microphone's working. I know I've had some trouble with audio. I am trying really hard to fix it. Okay, we're back to my original microphone, which is the one that was making me go silent before. So I'll try to keep an eye on the comments and see if we can get through today's video. Okay, here is the projects that we're making. As I said, it's going to be this very simple card. And then I have this little packet here. Okay, for this main card that we're doing, I'm going to start out with a piece of cardstock that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This is going to be my back base, the back of it. And then I have a 4 by 5 1/4 that's going to go over that. So we'll adhere those together. And then I have this second little card base that's going to go over this. And this one is 5 1/4 by 4 1/4. And it's scored at 2. Yeah, I have some designer series paper that's going to go over that. This is 1 3/4 by 4. And then inside, I have 3 inches by 4 inches. That's going to fit in there. And then I have my focal point. And again, I'm using punches because I'm trying to do things that people can do with limited supplies. I went a little bigger for the front so that we have a little more real estate to hide behind for our inside sentiment. So this is 2 3/8 inch circle and then a 2 1/4 inch circle. Then I have 2 1/4 and 2 for the inside. Okay, we're going to do some stamping using the Impressions Abloom stamp set. This is a 2-step stamping. So there is a solid piece and then there is a inside piece that's going to give the detail. And then we have the center of our flower, which I guess is going to be the bigger one for this one. Okay, I'm going to do the stamping with a second generation stamping, meaning that we're going to use just 3 colors. We're going to use a Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to use Pumpkin Pie because I don't have Timid Tiger yet, but it's going to be fairly close. And then we're going to use Granny Apple Green for our leaves. So I'm just going to bring in some blocks. Now I saw one of the questions in the comments there was somebody said that they have a fairly large stamp and they wanted to know how to ink it. Okay, one of the great things about the Stampin' Up! Ink pads is that they are raised. Okay, when we open them, we're going to open it like a compact, which is usually fairly easy. If you have trouble with that, you can push your thumbs back here. And by pushing on the little hinges, it makes that front pop up. Okay, then once it's over here, we're going to slide it back in. You're going to want to put some candle wax, or I usually use birthday candles because they're nice and little. They fit right in there, or a little bit of chapstick. And then you're going to go like this with it just to kind of lubricate the hinges. And then you'll notice the ink pad actually is raised above the case. Okay, so we have stamps with Stampin' Up! That get really big. We have some background stamps. And so they will get quite large and they will fit on here. Well, the idea is that we should be able to, let's grab this one too. There's another one here. We can take our ink pad and we can turn it over and dab it on this way. And so we're able to get all the way around and ink the whole thing. It's easier for me to grab it by these kind of grooves in the side and go over this way than to try to turn the stamp over and hang on to it and go this way. Okay, does that help? Yes, when you're inking up, you always want to do a gentle tap, 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 because our ink pads are what we call a firm foam. And so they are no longer the linen that they used to be. Our Memento Black is a linen, and so this is a harder surface. So are our Stampin' Spots. They're going to be a little more firm, but our ink pads that we have now are much more pliable, softer. But the problem is with that is when you go to ink them, it's very easy to press in and get the whole block. So you want to do a gentle tap, tap, tap. So you're moving it around, which is going to get you even coverage because you're picking ink up from all over. Also, you'll find if you always ink exactly in the center, it's going to push the ink to the outside edges. So by inking around the outside edge, you're pushing the ink around, evenly distributing it, and hopefully not getting it all over the block as I did with this one. And then when you apply the stamp to your project, it's going to be straight up and down, firm, even pressure without any rocking. We were taught in grade school to rock stamps. We shouldn't do that. That's how you get what we call halos, which is the line from the edge of the stamp getting onto your project. Okay, I'm going to put adhesive on the back of this whole panel. I've got it closed up like the card, like it's going to be on the front. And then I'm going to center it overall in this back layer. Okay. Then we're going to do our stamping. As I said, we're going to do the two-step stamping, meaning we're going to do second generation, which means, let's see, I need one more block. But I'm going to take my detailed stamp first, and I'm going to center it right in there, and I'm using full strength. So I did a tap, 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 then directly down on my project, and then lifting up. Now for the second part, I have this one here, and probably the first thing I want to do is make sure that my blocks are going the same way, so that I don't have to, rotate this around and try to figure out where my petals line up. I know that if I hold it the same way I held this one, they're going to line up. Then I'm going to ink on my pad with a tap, tap, tap. Then I'm going to stamp off on scrap paper. Then I'm going to come down to my project. And let's see. I rotated a little. Okay, what I want to do is come straight down over the top. And it's usually best to stand up and look straight down because, see, I'm a little bit off. And that's because I couldn't quite see at the angle that I'm going at. But you see how we got two different colors of the yellow. There's a darker and a lighter. That's from my stamping off before stamping onto the project. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the center. So I'm going to come in with my detailed one, and I'm going to do that full strength. Then I'm going to come in with my other one. I'm going to ink it up. I'm going to stamp off. And then I'm going to stamp on. Okay, so that's again giving me two colors with one ink pad. Okay, I can switch back to this other microphone. Is that helping? I'm kind of at a loss for what to do. I've got 3 different microphones I've tried. I've updated my software. I've uninstalled, reinstalled. I've done like everything I can think of. If anybody has any tech expertise and can tell me why the latest window update threw me off, I would appreciate it. See, that's the one I started out with when I started the video. No idea what's going on. Okay, the next thing I did was I stamped on our Stampin' Up! Masking paper, and then I die cut it out using the coordinating dies. If you don't have the dies, you could always fussy cut it. But Stampin' Up! Has what we call masking paper. And it just comes like this. It's got these pleats in the back where you would peel it off. So this is the back. It feels a little shinier, kind of like wax paper. But you want to stamp on the side that has the paper feel to it. This is more matte. And then you stamp it and cut it out. And then the reason I do that is so that I can lay this over the top of my flower and cover up what I just stamped. And then come in with my leaves. Get these out of the way. So I have my detail and then my full one. I'm going to ink up with Granny Apple Green. And then I'm going to stamp down on my project. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to ink this up. I'm going to stamp off. And then right over the top of this one, ink it up, stamp off, and then right over the top. Then when I peel off my masking paper, it's going to appear that those leaves are coming out from behind my flower. Okay, works a little better, of course, when it's a bigger circle and you see more of the leaf, but I think you're getting my point here.
Oh, that's why it didn't work, because it was supposed to be this one. Let's just try that again. So let's very quickly redo this. That's why it wasn't as simple as before. Okay, so we're going to do our flower in full strength with the detail. I'm going to come in with my second one, stamp off, stamp over the top. Okay, full strength on the center. I'm even aligning better. Who would have thought, now that I'm rushing? Okay. Then we will cover it up with our mask. Come in with our leaves. There we go. We're seeing more of the leaf now. And I have the solid leaf. I'm going to stamp off. And then right over the top. Stamp off, and then right over the top. Then we're going to peel off our masking paper and reveal. There we go. There's the flowers, leaves coming out from behind. Okay. For this one, what we're going to do is stamp thanks for the inside of our card. Okay, normally I would line my words up on grid paper and then pick it up with my block aligned on the grid paper. But for this one, because it's a circle, we can kind of spin the circle and get it straight after the fact. Oops, my thumb right in that. Which is why I almost always have baby wipes on my desk for when I stick my thumb in it. Okay. See, I should have paid attention to the fact that I told you the smaller one goes on the inside, because we're going to use this outer one to cover that one up. Okay, so I'm going to start with applying the outside one, and I'm only going to put adhesive on half of it. And it's going to be the half that's going to touch the little door here. So I'm centering it overall with adhesive just on this side. So there's no adhesive here. We would want to glue our card shut. Then when we're ready to do this other piece, I'm going to put some adhesive on the back. I'm going to make sure that I'm, straight. And I'm going to hold it behind there. And if you can see, there's kind of a ring of where this one goes. And then I'm going to close it, allowing that to find its placement inside. And that makes sure that this outer one's definitely going to cover that up. Then I'm going to bring in some of my flat pearls here. These are fabulous because they are much more low profile, making them much smoother and able to go through the mail easier without poking through the envelope. Okay, so a few little embellishments. Does that. And so that's our quick and easy card. Told you that one was going to be super simple. So now we're going to make our little lemonade holder. So this is those little packets, as I said, of Crystal Light, they've got coffee, they've got Kool-Aids, they've got, you know, all kinds of little drinks. These are the ones that you would add to your 20-ounce bottle of water. And so I have this little packet I made, and I did that. I'll just show you how I made it. Okay, I came in with a piece of cardstock that is 2.5 by 7.25, scored at 4.5. Okay, so this part's going to be much smaller than the top part. I'm going to lay it in my trimmer because I've got my cutting blade on top and my scoring blade on the bottom. So I'm going to lay this in the trimmer. And I put it at 3/8 of an inch because I'm going to hold it shut with our tear and tape, which is 1/4 of an inch. So I wanted it just a little wider than this so that I didn't have to worry about it. But I'm going to score up to that score line. And the top piece I'm going to cut down to that score line. And I'm going to flip it this way. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to line it up at 3/8. I'm going to cut down to that and score up to that. Okay. And I'm going to come in with some paper snips, and I'm just going to miter the corners right here. I feel like I need a new blade or to clean my track, one or the other. This is some fine grit sandpaper, kind of like emery board grit. Then I'm going to fold the little flaps in. And I'm going to put adhesive on those little flaps. Again, using tear and tape because it's a nice, strong adhesive. And I'm going to peel off the backing and just fold it closed. Okay, so that's going to make our little pocket that this goes into. So I decorated it with a little piece of the Cheers and Sips or Celebratory Sips. That's the designer series paper. And then I made a bow on my bow maker tool and then just added a little lemon. But that's how I put the thing together so that my sides gave it more of a pocket. Okay. So yeah, something could be great for a craft fair or little pillow gifts or, you know, something you would give to the hairdresser or the postal person, you know, just somebody you wanted to give a little small gift to that you didn't want to be too expensive. Oh, see, I moved that. Oh, darn it. Darn. Camera is that the mic I was using. Let me put it back. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So there's our projects for today. We have our super simple fun fold card and then our lemonade packet. Now remember, you want to come back on Monday is when we do fun fold cards that are a little more elaborate. And so this is what we're doing on Monday. So it's kind of an inner frame fun fold. I watched a video in French from a demonstration in France. I think it was in France, like Canada, somewhere out of the country because she was speaking French. And I watched her video and converted it down to imperial measurements, and we'll be showing you how to do that on Monday. So thank you so much. Well, I want to let you know book number 3 is on its way. We have finished it and submitted it to Stampin' Up. When we do a fun fold book, or when I do a fun fold book, it has to be submitted through Stampin' Up for approval because I'm using the word Stampin' Dimensionals, and there's a couple different words that are Stampin' Up supplies that they have copyrighted or trademarked. And because I'm using photos of cards made with Stampin' Up products, Stampin' Up legal department has to give it their kind of once over and approval. So as soon as they get back to me and let me know that it's gone through the approval process and I fix anything needs fixed, it will go on for sale on my website, hopefully next week. So stay tuned for that. It's on its way. Thank you so much. Bye.